This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Happy Thursday and welcome to another edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily here on WST. It is Turkey Day south of the border. We got the Lions and Packers going on as we go live. A little later on, Chiefs, Cowboys, Ravens, Bengals. We'll hit a little NFL at the end of the program with Thomas Tipple from fantasypoints.com. But we got lots to talk about on the ice. The Winnipeg Jets dropping their third straight last night and now fall to just 2 games above 500 at 12-10 after dropping a 4-3 decision in D.C. We'll break down where things went off the rails for Winnipeg right off the top of the show. We'll hear from head coach Scott Arniel. And Murat is going to join us a little later on in the program as well. We'll also, first up, take a few minutes to check in with the Manitoba Moose and Danny Zhilkin, who's having his best year as a pro so far. Moose coming off another win. So we'll talk to Danny for a few minutes, and then Murat will join us. And then in between the hockey and the football conversations, we'll take a trip out to Halifax. John Cullen on curling, with the latest on the quest to represent Canada at the Olympic Games. I can tell you that as we speak right now, Carrie Anerson and Christina Black are tied 3-3 in the 8th end. Black with the hammer. The winner will take on Rachel Homan in the best-of-3 final. Later on tonight, it's going to be Winnipeg's Maddie Dunstone and Mike McEwen of Winnipeg, technically curling out of Saskatchewan. They'll be going head-to-head for the opportunity to go mano-a-mano in a best-of-3 with Brad Jacobs to represent Canada. So John will join us. It should be a lot of fun. But listen, we're going to need to get into this game last night. And at this point, this team needs to find a way to win a game. And there were some things last night that they did quite well, generated some great scoring opportunities. Thought they gave up quite a bit, although when you kind of look in and dig into the numbers, there wasn't a ton of quality scoring chances. Now, I guess the big question is what the hell happened on the goals that went in? A couple from really long range. Obviously, a really unfortunate breakdown with puck going over Elias Salmonson, creating that breakaway that ended up being the winner. But the numbers were weird in that game last night, and I think sort of stunning. If you watch the WST post game with Remis and Connor, they were sort of shocked. And I had to go back and check them myself just to see how weighted the analytics were in the Jets' favor, despite being outshot 34-21 and going extended periods of time without really doing much in front of Charlie Lindgren. Clearly, Lindgren was the better goaltender last night. That is not up for debate. And I hope that that's not a topic that is being repeated over and over on this program for the next month. But so far, it hasn't been great for Eric Comrie as the starter for the Winnipeg Jets. We'll get into all of that coming up. Welcome to everybody in chat. Hope you're having a good day, watching a little bit of football, hanging out with us here on WST. And a big thanks to all the sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at Coolbet Canada. We will do WST winners tomorrow, 10 a.m. Break these games down from today and make our picks for the weekend. We do have quite a bit up in the Coolbet combo cards as well if you want to jump on something for this afternoon's football action. Obviously, a big thanks to the Winnipeg Jets. If you are thinking about maybe some stocking stuffers, why don't you join us at the Jan 9 game against the Kings? It's a Friday night, après-ski night at the arena. They're doing a nice giveaway that night. Go to winnipegjets.com/WST and grab those for the WST fan and Jet fan to join us. Be a nice little Christmas present. Also want to thank Chud's Power Sports, Princess Auto, Clean Line, Uptown Alley, Rollies, Save-A-Tel Dental Center, Canadian Club, Manitoba Battery, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, Little Brown Jug. We will get to a Why Not question of the day and get your feedback on the game in fan feedback for fans first. Let's get her going. Michael Remis, what's going on? How are you?
Hey, is that Ovechkin pregame ceremony still going? Holy crap, Huss. Congrats to him. 900 goals, 1,500 games played. We're watching a living legend, and for a guy who scored the most goals in his career against the Winnipeg Jets Thrashers franchise, of course, he got one And no matter how improbable that goal looked with the spin shot from the boards, that one had eyes. That's why he's the best, Huss. But 3 losses in a row for the Winnipeg Jets, and keep talking about the same thing. Lack of depth scoring. Shout out to that top line. Velarde 2 goals, Connor 3 assists, Scheifele a goal as well. But secondary scoring continues to be a problem. The Winnipeg Jets are currently practicing in Raleigh, trying to figure out that issue as we speak.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously, like everyone, I was pretty disappointed at the way that that game finished. And I mean, to me, it was sort of a microcosm of where we've been since Hellebuck's been out. You know, a lot of play, a lot of periods of time during the game where the Jets look good, the Jets look dangerous. But then, you know, long stretches where they didn't seem to have much going on offensively. And then, of course, it's about keeping the puck out of the net. Now, and we'll hear from Scott Arniel coming up in a minute. And he, of course, spoke right after the game. I'm not sure. Well, let me ask you this, Remis. Do you think once he gets back and rewatches that game, the goals that went in against Winnipeg, the ones that they generated, the chances that they generated, do you think that he might have a different feeling on this? Like, I'm not sure. I don't want to be swayed by some analytic numbers that, frankly, sometimes I don't trust on a game-to-game basis. But once I read that and was sort of digging into the amount of high-danger scoring chances, which were heavily weighted in the Jets' favor, you kind of think about all the close calls in the game last night, and then you think about what was happening in the Jets' end. And while, sure, they put some more pucks on Eric Comrie, like, I'm not thinking of any massive saves that he was really needing to make. And obviously the goals that went in were ones that, well, certainly more often than not when 37's in the net, are not going in.
Yeah, I think that you're right. And you looked at the game and you saw the shot chart that they had on the broadcast, and the Jets were pretty much doubled. And I'm looking at this chart here, and when you look at the shot attempt analytics, they're just measuring where is this shot coming from and how often does a shot from that distance go in. And they're just shot from everywhere. They had a lot of shots from distance, and those are going to get saved. They don't have a high probability, but if you take enough of them, one will squeak through. And you saw Ovechkin's shot, that was in, and Chikrin's. Those had pretty low probability, but they were goals. And the Jets, had chances, and their goals were from in close. Velarde, 2. Scheifele went to the net. And hey, Huss, credit to Mark Scheifele for getting high-sticked and not just stopping playing and pointing at the ref and yelling at him. He got right back up and went to the net and scored right after that. So something to be said about the drive that this team showed in trying to come back. And when they were in a tough spot, they did not play well in the first period, but were given a gift there at the end and came within one and had a power play to start and were able to capitalize. They were right in it, and I think we've talked about this. The Winnipeg Jets are getting in these one-goal games, and they're falling just short, and they're not getting those loser points that so many other teams. So many other teams are getting. Like, look at Utah. What, they got like 4 overtime losses in the last bit here. Those are huge points. So the Jets are right there, but they are falling just short, and secondary scoring an issue. And I think you look at the game, the goaltending. They haven't had the better goaltender on this 3-game losing streak in either of the games. And interesting, Mike noted today at practice that's happening right now. We haven't heard from the coaches after. Dylan Samberg typically warms up the starting goalie for the next game. It's his thing. But he was firing pucks at Thomas Milic, not Eric Comrie. There is no morning skate tomorrow because it's a 4 o'clock game. We'll have to see what happens, but that is something that's interesting. And I'm curious about seeing Milic in net at some point.
Well, I mean, listen, Milic is going to get a start presumably in one of these 2 games. And I know the thought was that they would go with Comrie in the first 2 and then have Milic go up against the Nashville Predators, who, by the way, won last night and put up 6 on the Detroit Red Wings. But when you think about the way Eric has, kind of performed and what hasn't gone well for him, I mean, why not put the kid in for his first start against the Carolina Hurricanes and hope that, he can author a great story of a young man getting his first chance in the NHL and showing that he belongs and playing a great game. Listen, the team is going to need to be very, very good if they want to beat Carolina, regardless of who's in the net tomorrow. And then give Comrie an opportunity to maybe get it back on track against the team at the bottom of the NHL standings. I do wonder, and I'll throw this out to people in the chat. I mean, now let's do the why not question of the day right now for Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray. Great winter tire program right now if you've been sleeping on that. What is concerning you most about the Jets right now? Is it the goaltending in this stretch without Connor Hellebuck? Is it the defensive play of the team overall? Or is it the lack of secondary scoring? And this is something that we'll talk about, Remis. I mean, there were, some really good chances for a couple, Jonathan Toews in particular. And for those that buy into, the expected goals numbers, he was second on the Jets yesterday in the game behind Gabriel Velarde, ahead of Mark Scheifele, ahead of Perfetti, ahead of Kyle Connor with a .9. It just seems like he needs a break. I mean, he had that glorious chance early in the game that didn't go in. I'm sure that factored into that number as well. But I do wonder, is it the fact that they just can't get something to go outside of that top line? I mean, the top line was brilliant last night. Remember, we were putting the parlay together. What happens? What's needed for the Jets to win? Well, the big guys needed to step up. They really did last night. They carried it offensively. I thought they were dangerous all night. Gabe Velarde had one of his best games of the season. And when I think back, there wasn't a ton of, those grade A chances that listen, we'll get into Elias Salomonsson as well. I thought there were some really, really good things we saw in Elias. Also, a couple, mistakes that happen with young defensemen that are playing their first game or early in the National Hockey League career. He gave Chychrun way too much room, on the first goal. And then, unfortunately, the fourth goal, when I think he was really sort of feeling it, Cole Perfetti whipped that pass to him, and I don't know if it was a great pass. Regardless, it went over his stick and behind the other way. Next thing you know, it's a breakaway. And that was the time, and I said this out as the guy got to about center, this was when the Winnipeg Jets needed a big save. Yeah, there's a couple weird ones that went in earlier, but if Eric Comrie could have locked it down there and made that one save, well, certainly, they ended up scoring. You're talking about a 3-3 game that at least goes to overtime, but just wasn't able to do it. And, I'll be honest. I think they have been better defensively. I liked some of what they did last night in generating chances against a good Washington team. But it's going to be difficult to be winning games against good teams right now if that level of goaltending that we've seen, particularly last night, doesn't turn up. Eric's had great starts before, but we're into a little bit of a different territory right now with the fact that it's his crease, presumably, for the next month, unless anything changes.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. And, secondary scoring was a topic all yesterday and coming into the game. And you look at the results, it was the top line generating all the 3 goals that they scored. And you even look at shots on goal. Haas had 5 on 5. That top line had 6. The rest of the other 3 lines also had 6 combined. You're just not going to win when you're only getting goals from one forward line. In these last 4 games, they haven't had a goal outside those 3 guys from a forward. And certainly a concern. I don't think that'll go on forever. They need more from just about everyone out there. And if you're not going to get if you're only going to get goals from one line, it's going to be tough to win. And they can't rely on, the great goaltending that they've gotten. So we'll see how this turns around here on Friday. That's tomorrow, Black Friday against Carolina. That's going to be a tough one. And Nashville, they scored a bunch yesterday, but hasn't been a great year for them. But, there's a number of concerns right now with the Jets, but you look at the standings, while they are currently out of a playoff spot, they do have games in hand, and everyone is so close together. You win a couple games in a row, and you're right back in it. So, they're, again, practicing today. We'll see if they make any changes.
Yeah, as I said, Murat's going to come on. We're going to kick all of this around. We'll get to the coach as well before Murat. We're going to have Danny Zhilkin join us in just a couple of minutes as well. Moose getting a nice win after their winning streak was broken on the school day game, and now getting ready for the Chicago Wolves on Saturday and Sunday, 2 p.m. with both games. What did you think of Elias Reem just before we get to some Moose talk?
Yeah, he made some nice plays for sure, but in the end, he was on for 2 goals against and made was the error on the McMichael goal. And it's tough. So you wonder if there's some nerves there being in your first game. Seems Mike was saying Pionk was out there in a regular jersey practicing. So it's maybe a one and done here. You'd like to see him get some more opportunity. 'Cause you don't know what guys are feeling, being in the first game, not used to NHL play and the nerves of that. But ultimately, he was on for 2 goals against, and the numbers with him and Sandberg traditionally a guy who's always positive, didn't go well. So
yeah, I mean, listen, I think that's going to be, again, in these micro samples of one game,
yeah,
when you have something like that happen, as I say, I don't know how much we can really kind of focus on the individual metrics, when a play like that happens.
Yeah, that's all you can judge what happens. He made some nice plays, but it was him who didn't play the puck on the game-winning goal. So, what? I'm sorry. That's the play that happened.
Yeah. No, listen. I kind of think that was a bad break. It wasn't like he made a bad play. Like that was just one of those things that happened. I was actually I'm really impressed by a lot of the things that he was able to do, and I think he got more comfortable through the game. And I think the fact that he was on at that point, Perfetti generating that that play to try to get it, on the net. Bounces over a stick and it goes the other way, and it's important. And that obviously is going to really skew any of those metrics for it. Listen, we'll hear from Coach Arneal and Elias in just a minute, but we are going to be welcoming in Danny Zhilkin from the Moose in just a sec. Hey, folks, of course, now we got U.S. Thanksgiving, and now it's all systems go into the holiday season. Whether you were planning on just getting together with some friends in and around the holiday time, planning a group holiday party, or thinking about maybe some stocking stuffers of fun for people in your circle, head on down to our friends at Uptown Alley at 1301 St. Matthews. They've got it all: 5-pin bowling, 10-pin bowling, laser tag, an incredible arcade, fun carnival-style games where you can win prizes, win tickets for great prizes, and absolutely amazing food and beverage options that will blow you away. Gift cards available right now to put under the tree or in the stockings, and great group and corporate events in and around the holidays. Pick your activities, your meal, your add-ons, and their event staff will take care of everything else. Head on down there and take advantage of their special every day after 9 p.m., the Bowl and Play special, or book online for more information, of course, for gift cards at the most fun spot in the city 12 months a year, Uptown Alley at 1301 St. Mary's. If you have a move coming up, folks, our friends at Rolly's Transfer are there for you, as they've been for over 60 years. Family owned and operated in Winnipeg, and the most trusted name in the moving game. Check out their website at rollys.com for all of their services and features. In the top right corner, you can click on Request an Estimate, hammer in that promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies, and let them know when and where you're planning on moving and what needs to be moved. And the friendly staff at Rolly's will tee you up with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment and service that they've been famous for now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, lean on the experts at Rolly's, the most trusted name in Manitoba. Find out more. Request an estimate today over at rollys.com. I know Jet fans weren't smiling too much after the result of last night's game, but if you do need some work on your smile, there's a great group of people at St. Vital Dental Center, including our pal Dr. Terry, that would love to take care of you. They've been doing it for generations of Winnipeggers. If you're looking for a new long-term home for you and your family at one of the top dental clinics in Manitoba, make it St. Vital Dental Center. They're taking care of patients from 6 months to 99 plus with a full array of services, from cleanings and checkups to things like dental implants. They can really do it all. Make an appointment today and pop by and see them at St. Vital Dental Center, 167 St. Anne's. Free, convenient parking right behind the building. Book online at stvitaldental.ca. And hey, just before we bring in Danny, don't forget, gang, that with the holidays officially here, Our friends at Canadian Club have a couple beauties waiting for you at your local Manitoba liquor marts for Bomber fans and, of course, fans of the iconic Canadian whiskey, Canadian Club. That limited edition Blue Bomber label bottle is still available in some Manitoba liquor marts. Grab it while it's gone. But the real highlight going into the holidays is the new Canadian Club Cranberry Ginger Ale for a limited time only. The great taste of cranberry along with Canadian Club and ginger ale. Perfect for the holidays and holiday gatherings. It's available in 4-packs or 473 milliliter cans, not only at Manitoba liquor marts, but also at your nearest beer vendor. All right, let's fire it up and welcome in a young man who's had a great start to the season, along with his team faring a heck of a lot better than the last couple of years. Let's bring in Danny Zhilkin from the Moose on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Danny, what's going on? How are you?
Good. How are you? Can you hear me well?
We can hear you well. It's great to have you back on the program. Nice win for the fellas last night to get back in the win column after this winning streak was broken. But we'll get to the team overall. But for you yourself, a great start, career highs already, 5 goals on the season. You must be really enjoying not only the winning, but also getting a few more on the board.
Yeah, of course. It's been a great start so far. I've been working hard this summer and kind of started to get that momentum at the end of last season, getting more ice time and just more confidence. So it's been going well so far.
Tell me a little bit about that the gradual process of feeling comfortable as a professional at the American Hockey League level and how much more comfortable you are right now in your 3rd season playing at this level, and obviously the numbers and the success following along.
Yeah, I think just comes with experience, right? I mean, kind of the same thing happened in junior where I was the first year, I was 15 years old coming into the league playing against older guys, and the game's just, feels like it's super fast. Everybody's bigger and stronger. And same thing here. Like 2 years ago, I came to the league, everything just felt fast. And now the game's kind of slowing down for me a little bit. I'm feeling more confident with the puck and making more plays. And I'm playing on a great line right now with Barlow and, Jarrett Anderson-Dole in there. So we're clicking a little bit and hoping to continue it.
Now, the other thing that you're going to look to continue is the wins. Like these last couple of years have been tough for the Moose. I mean, there's been, some long losing streaks and you're, at the end of the season trying to battle to make the playoffs. How different is the mood around the team this year with the start that you guys have had and the young talent and veteran players that have also come in to round out the lineup?
Yeah, I think, nobody in the organization was happy with how the season went last year, especially we were, I believe, 31st in the league. So it was a tough season. We had battling a bunch of injuries and just wasn't going great for us. But management did an unbelievable job signing great players this offseason. And we have a really strong team. In the beginning of the season just wasn't clicking for us. But now that, we're coming off a 6-game, win streak and just losing one, but getting back in the win column now. So hoping to continue that. We have a great team. Our goaltenders have been playing well and hoping to climb the ranks.
Tell us about I want to talk about some of the younger players and the guys that you've been playing with, but first up, you've got some quality veterans that have joined the club this year, and Phil DiGiuseppe, who won the Calder Cup last year. How different was the tone with some of those guys coming in right out of the gate in training camp, and how has that helped you guys as a team early on?
Oh, huge. I mean, veteran presence is always great, obviously, but when you have somebody who just won a cup, come in and be a leader for a team, and you see how, he acts in between periods and what he says in between periods when the team is down, it's huge, of course. Not just him, there's a number of, other guys and great goal scorers like, Fajimo there got 2 goals last night. You see how he's just a natural shooter on the power play. So those guys have been great for us.
Now you've also got some company with some more young guys coming in. Tell us about playing with Colby Barlow and his presence in and around the room.
Yeah, it's been great to have him. Just to see how calm he is with the puck already, and it's just in his first season. It's been awesome for sure just to play with him and Jad there. We've been playing great so far. He makes a lot of great plays and assisted on a few of my goals. So that's always good, of course. And Yeah, we've been playing great. He's a great guy.
Well, and Anderson Dolan's an interesting case in that, he spent time with the Moose, but also, was playing for the Jets in the playoffs last year. This is a guy that's had significant NHL experience. You lean on a guy like that, throughout the season for, some guidance and just what's he like as a player, fitting in on that line that's helped you out.
Of course, yeah, he's been great. He brings a ton of experience to our roster as well, and just to on his line, he's a guy who plays with ton of confidence as well, and he's played in a number of very big games in his career. So it seems like he's always in the right spot. Like you saw his goal. If you saw his goal last night, he's just there in the slot. The puck finds him, he puts it in the back of the net. So he makes a ton of great plays and opens up a lot of space for me and Colby on the ice.
Danny Zhilkin's with us from the Manitoba Moose. Danny, a couple of your teammates just got the call to the show. Elias Salmonson made his debut last night, and Thomas Milic could very well make his first start tomorrow. Tell us about those guys as teammates and players with the Moose, and what was the feeling around you guys when you heard that both of them were getting the opportunity with the Jets?
Yeah, super happy for those two guys. Of course, me and Millie, we actually go way back to U18 World Championships when we won that together. So yeah, when we heard the call, it was right after the game that Hellebuck was out for a little bit. So it's sad to see that, but obviously very happy for Milic to get his opportunity, hopefully to get a start here soon. And Salamansi, yeah, has been an awesome defenseman for us. It feels like whenever he has the puck, very rarely he makes a bad play. So he's been super solid, and yeah, very happy for him to get his debut last night.
As a young player, I mean, what does it do for you guys to see some of your teammates that are doing well to get that opportunity? It must. I mean, sometimes, listen, you see a team that was very, very good last year that has the veterans that they have. I imagine that always keeps that hope going of what you and everyone on that team are working for, an opportunity to play in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think would be lying to say that there isn't a little bit of internal competition going on as well, right? So we all have a goal, and that's to play in the NHL. That's everybody's dream. So we all work hard, and just to see, those guys get called up and, get their looks for the first time in their career kind of, lights a fire in me as well to keep pushing, and hopefully that'll be me one day.
Now, the Jets do play tomorrow at 4. You guys are playing on the afternoon. Can't remember who was the team that said you guys might get together to maybe watch Millie's first start if it works out time-wise for you.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, that would be awesome for us to see for sure, and get together as a team. That would be great.
Hey, Danny, you've been here for a couple years now. How are you enjoying being a pro hockey player in the city of Winnipeg?
It's awesome. I mean, just being a pro, everybody dreams of this life, right? You're so grateful that this is your everyday life and your job. And, many people dream of this. So it's, super grateful to have this opportunity to play for the Moose and be a pro.
The AHL schedule is notoriously weird, particularly in the first couple months of the season. The teams like the weekend dates, better for crowds and group sales and all that. Sometimes you end up having entire weeks where you're at home. What do you and the younger guys spend your time doing when you got these long stretches in between games in and around the city?
Well, not too much, to be honest. We have a lot of games, so just trying to rest and, prepare for the next game. But to start 11 out of the first 15 games on the road was pretty tough. I'm not going to lie, but we managed that super well. We've won a ton of games on the road, and to come back and hopefully continue that, that fire going and, keep clicking every line and, hopefully win more games. But yeah, the schedule is a little bit weird. I believe we played Chicago Wolves 5 out of the 7 games here. So it's a little bit weird, but you got to dial in every game and hope to get the win.
Now, obviously, first things first, being at your best for your job, which is playing hockey. But what do you do for fun and to try to get away from the game?
Just spend time with my teammates, of course. But my girlfriend's in town now, which is great. She's on her school break, so eating a lot of food. Not gonna lie, going out to eat a lot of great spots here. But we actually went to a comedy show as well. That was a pretty cool. It was on a Tuesday night, so that was great as well.
Nice. What are your favorite go-to spots for food? If you have buddies come and meet you, where are you making sure to take them?
I would say Hearth down south. I think that's probably my favorite spot.
I know it certainly is good. Well, listen, whatever they're feeding you, keep it up because it's been a great start to the season. And listen, this Moose team is night and day from what it was last year. And I mean, that's just got to be fun for everyone knowing you got a chance to win each and every night. And should be two pretty fun games on the weekend with the 2 p.m. starts. Good luck against the Wolves, Danny, and let's get you back on the program with some more tales of Moose wins and continuing to advance your professional career. Appreciate you jumping on today, pal.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Good stuff. There's Danny Zhilkin of the Manitoba Moose. Again, the Moose are at home this weekend. Double shot of matinees against, you guessed it, the Chicago Wolves. 2 p.m. on Saturday, 2 p.m. on Sunday. All right, we're going to get back to the Jets. Murat's going to join us in 10 minutes or so. We promised we'd get you Scott Arniel. He was obviously frustrated after a third straight loss. Here's what Arnie had to say after the game.
We knew obviously that a lot of emotion in the building. They're kind of long ceremony, and they scored. Their D got involved early, and we knew that was going to be part of the game plan. And but I like the way that was a big goal at the end of the first, and then a big goal at the start of the second to get us back in it. So there's a lot of good things that happened out there. We're in a funk right now, and we got to find ways. We're doing a lot of good things. Our mistakes, if they happen, they're going in our net. But we battle right to the end. Got to find a way to get some secondary scoring, and we're obviously Scheifelein did it again tonight, and we need other people to step up. And it's not about being pretty now. It's about I don't care how it goes in, off your head, off your leg, however it might be, rebounds, whatever, deflections. We got to find a way. Both the guys that aren't scoring, find a way to get some offense. Our D have to find a way to get pucks to that net front. I think we had 3 shots on net from our D, and that's something that we have to, as a group, have to get better at. And you can't go into games with one line running.
It's interesting him talking about scoring chances and shots from the defense core. Remo, that was one of the biggest advantages that Washington had. Some legitimate shots from defensemen, and obviously the Chychrun goal that went in was a part of that. And, I thought that both Washington's PK was really good and quite aggressive, which was surprising considering we saw the numbers. They were 29th in the league heading into the game. But there was also a lack of execution at times, which, has kind of plagued the Jets at times this year where, you've got the puck on the stick, you know what the play is, and it just doesn't happen. And then you combine it with a good Washington team that'll check the hell out of you. And it did. I think there was more on the table there for the Winnipeg Jets that just didn't quite come to fruition at times when they were off.
It was interesting us talking about the Washington Capitals' scoring ability from the back end and who scores their first 2, John Carlson and Jacob Chychrun. So they're a pretty good team, Washington, even with missing Pierre-Luc Dubois, solid. And Scott Arniel mentioned, they got to get some more from the other lines. We're saying it over and over again, but it's very true at this point. But hey, you score 3, you'd like to think you can win. This is a Jets team that's traditionally been pretty good defensively, and unfortunately we're not able to hold off Washington.
Now, a big part of the game were the ones that went in for the Caps, and they were just throwing pucks on net, and sometimes they go in. Here's Arnie on the amount of pucks from all over that they put on Eric Comrie and the third goal from Ovechkin.
And it went straight in. So I don't think Combs ever saw that one. It went right by Stan. Kind of nobody saw it kind of coming, but that's Ovi throwing them from everywhere. But at the end of the day, you got to make your own breaks. And you know what, they got some, obviously Chychrun's a hell of a defenseman, and Carlson and Sandin. Those guys are, there was a lot of pucks coming. I think they had 14 or 15 pucks that got to the net, and that's part of their strategy. And honestly, we try to do the same thing. But obviously Wash got in the lanes, or they got sticks on pucks. But it's just something that we have to, as we talk about our defense improving, how we defend, how we play on our end, we also have to do some things in the offensive zone, and we got to get a little bit hungrier, got to get a little bit meaner about going and finding ways to score goals.
What do you say to Elias after a tough play like that?
Yeah, you know what, I just went down and just told him to suck it up, move on. It's just, that's the one thing about good players, any kind of players, young, old, move on to the next one. You can't do anything about the pass play. And, I thought that he showed a lot of maturity at times tonight. There were some real nice plays, had some real nice breakouts, some nice plays offensively. That's a tough building. This is a tough building. That's a tough team. That's a tough game to come into. Thought he held his own.
All right, so there's Scott Arniel, and talking about Elias Salmonson, who we'll really get into with Murat a little bit later on, holding his own, but obviously it wasn't the cleanest game, and that was a big part of that fourth goal that went in that ended up being the deciding factor. Arniel went back and just discussed more of the issues right now the Jets are having scoring from anybody that's not on the Scheifele, Connor, Velarde line.
Well, that's just been a constant all year. We knew it from last year as well. I mean, they're one of the top lines in the league, and they're hard to handle. And but I would like some of the pressure to be taken off, that we were getting more run support, so that when they do score one or two or three, that we win hockey games going away, or some other people score, and it isn't just having to if those guys have an off night where they don't score, we have other people that can step up. So that's just something that, again, part of these things that have kind of gone on since the start of the year, that you're trying to fill in some holes in the boat there, and some other ones are opening up. So I don't want to say that all we have to think about now is scoring goals, because we know what'll happen. So just stay with it, and we'll continue to grind guys to do the right things to score goals.
Now, a topic that I know has been brought up by many in the chat: when the rest of the team isn't scoring, do you think about breaking up that top line that has been so effective to try to sort of spread the wealth a little bit? We've touched that on the last couple days, and here's what Arnie had to say about the possibility of breaking up that top line.
Something we thought about, but we've got to challenge the other group. We've got to challenge the other group here, to other players to step up and do part of it. Like I've said in the past, if you want to score goals, don't get farther away from that, get close to the net. And this is a time now for us. And we got to go find some greasy goals, and some old, either rebounds, deflections, those type of goals. And they get one, and hopefully that it kind of spreads throughout our team.
Right. So there's Scott Arniel, and as I brought it up with you before, Remo, I do wonder. And maybe we'll hear from Scott after practice today, or we'll have it for tomorrow's show before tomorrow's game. 4 p.m. again, tomorrow afternoon, Black Friday, against the Carolina Hurricanes. As to whether, when Arnie goes back and watches the tape of, what the Jets did and didn't do, whether he feels a little bit better. The bottom line right now for Winnipeg is they got to find a way to win a game. They didn't last night, and there's not really a lot of silver linings when you're in a losing streak and you do some nice things but still lose in regulation.
Yeah, you're 0-3 in your last three, but, that Carolina one, they were in it. You have the shorthanded goal, the Minnesota one, can't score. And yesterday, another close one. They are right there, but falling just short. And, the efforts there, these guys are playing hard. It's not like Edmonton where they're getting blown out and looking totally disinterested. So you hope, you do have it. I said on the post game, using all my lines here, it's not like NHL 94, unfortunately, where you just play one line, because the Jets would be the best team in the league with Connor Scheifele, Velarde, and Morrissey DeMello. So you hope that this is just a slump here and you can figure it out. But we did our quarter season review yesterday, if you missed that, like half hour in, and I did say it was a concern when Logan Stanley is your sixth leading scorer. They need anyone to put a goal in. And if you get 3 from your top line, you should win, because someone else is likely going to score. It hasn't happened. And again, they haven't had a goal from a forward other than those top 3 guys in 4 games. It's not a long-term recipe for success.
Well, and you know what? Andy Johnson in chat, that Gary Galley noticed the Jets don't have their defensive structure. Easy zone exits by the opposition and then defenders backing up. Maybe start by fixing that. I'm with you on that one, Andy. And there was a couple plays that they sort of singled out on just how easy the Jets, allowed them to take in the zone. I didn't think that was the case for the entire game. But, against a good team like that, they're going to get theirs. You need to do everything that you can to minimize that. And at times the Jets did quite well with that, and others not so much. Let's get to fan feedback. We'll play Elias Salmonson before Murat comes in. But fan feedback for fansfirst.ca, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market, where what you see is what you pay. We asked you all, where are you at with the biggest concern with the Jets right now? And I'll be honest, I'm kind of surprised that this is as big. There's a bunch of things that they need, but 61% Reem on lack of secondary scoring, 22% on defensive breakdowns and turnovers, and only 10% on goaltending in life without Hellebuck. Confidence and momentum, 7% as well. After last night's game, I thought that goalie number might be a little bit higher.
Yeah, he wasn't a great game for Eric Carmi. You look at goals saved above expected, he was about minus 1.5, and you go by the Rennie stat, which team had the better goaltender, and the Jets are over in that category. You know, we saw reports from Mike that Samberg taking shots at Milic. Could Milic start? You know, give Eric Carmi a rest, let him reset. I know he didn't see what the Ovechkin one, but they were scoring goals from pretty far away, and traditionally those don't go in. So it's certainly a tough one yesterday. So I haven't seen any further updates from Mike, but we'll be staying tuned. As I noted yesterday, Connor Hellebuck made his debut on Black Friday in Minnesota. We have another Black Friday goalie NHL debut?
True?
Yeah, I remember I just got a PS4. And I was setting it up, and
was that one of those ugly games on Black Friday in Minnesota? There were some real nightmare games back in the day. I don't remember Hellebuck's first game.
It was definitely Black Friday. He stopped 15 shots. It was November 27, 2015. So 10 years ago today, Hustler, he stopped 15 shots in a 3-1 win over Minnesota. So, I mean, he was a different kind of prospect. Wasn't he? Although he was still a late draft pick too. He had success, and Thomas Milic is a guy people have doubted him. He fell a late round pick, even though he had success in the WHL, and he's continued to have success in the pros with the Moose and in the ECHL. I'm curious if he can bring it in the NHL. But interesting that 10 years ago today, Connor Hellebuck made his debut on Black Friday.
Yeah, no doubt. And you know what? I mean, just as far as goaltending goes, and you miss Helly in so many ways. We haven't had to deal with this before. Milic, a smaller goalie. Eric Comrie, not big. And just when you see these goalies in, it's just such a stark contrast from what we're used to seeing in front of that Winnipeg net with 37. So, listen, lots of pressure on both of those young guys to keep things going. Schichter says it's not Comrie. It's everyone in front of him on most goals, and then in brackets. But, yes, he will be more prone to the occasional stinker. Phyllis says get the goals down to 3. That is Comrie's job. Can't allow 4. And the Ovi knuckleball was a backbreaker from Frosty Balls. Keep your thoughts coming in for fan feedback. By fans, for fans, no fees. Check out the site today at fansfirst.ca. Let's hear from Elias Salmonson. He made his debut last night. This was Elias on doing the hot lap.
Yeah, that was actually the first thing I thought of. Don't fall. But yeah, it was amazing. Of course, a lot of emotions. You just do that once, so yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I know your girlfriend was able to make the trip, right? Did your parents manage to get here or no?
No, but they watched back home, so but my girlfriend was here, yeah.
That's awesome. How did you feel maybe your first few shifts went? Were there butterflies, nerves, that sort of thing?
Yeah, there's a lot of nerves, of course, but I think you settled in that the game went on there, but yeah, it was a lot of fun to play, yeah.
All right, we'll get Murat's thoughts on Elias's NHL debut. Here's just one more from the rookie defenseman. He had talked about the play that led to the 4th goal, the drop pass from Perfetti that got past him.
Yeah, it was unfortunate, but I think the puck bounced a little bit or something. But yeah, take that. It is what it is. Just try to let that behind you.
Yeah. Like, is that something where your teammates sort of pick you up? Because you're probably feeling not great about that. Yeah. But did anybody say anything to you?
Yeah, of course. The guys came and said, don't worry, and stuff like that. So they felt good. And could continue the game on the right way.
on. Hey, just before we bring in Murat, do want to thank our friends at Princess Auto for their great support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Princess Auto, synonymous with Winnipeg, headquartered here, founded right here, and now coast to coast, but with 3 Manitoba locations to serve you, where you'll find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. And of course, Princess Auto's got great deals 365 days a year, even more so on Black Friday and in and around this weekend. So make sure to do a little perusing in store or check them out online 24/7, 365 at princessauto.com. Chud's Power Sports. Well, the big Chud's Power Sports Power Poll tomorrow for the National Football League. The gang at Chud's, we saw a little bit of snow flying yesterday. I know there were big smiles on the Derminator, everybody there, because of course that means snowmobile season is just about here. The snow is coming, and Gift the Outdoors holiday sales event right now for Polaris vehicles, where you can save up to $3,000 with financing as low as 0% APR for 60 months. Both Polaris and Arctic Cat preseason deals are on right now, along with the best in ATVs, UTVs, tractors, golf carts, Argo and Sasquatch vehicles, and of course, ice houses for the upcoming ice fishing season. Chud's Power Sports Dealership of the Year, as announced by Snowman at their 50th anniversary gala this year. Pop by and see them, the corner of Highway 8 and 231 in Gimli, Manitoba, and online at chudspowersports.com. And of course, gang, it is getting colder. Are you ready for winter? Get ready for winter before winter beats you at Manitoba Battery. The best in batteries, shopping local, the best prices in town, period, with the best in customer service all month long. Pop by Manitoba Battery on Logan Avenue or Dover Court Drive with free battery testing, great deals on booster cables and booster packs to have you set up for winter. And again, if your battery gets tested and you need a new one, you'll get the best price in town, guaranteed, beating the pants off the big box stores with price. Citywide delivery available as well. Give them a call or order online at manitobabattery.com. All right, let's get back to the Jets and welcome in our pal Murat from The Athletic. Murat, what's going on? How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. Let's go.
Were you, did you by any chance just watch the halftime show of the Lions-Packer game?
No, I have no idea.
Jack White did the show, and then I guess Eminem is producing it, and then he came out. I'm going to have to go back in the game after the show and watch that out. It would be a lot of people talking about in the chat. But of course, the main topic in the chat, Murat, is another loss last night. The life without Hellebuck era has not started well. You know, from my perspective at the end of the game, disappointed. I mean, they had some pretty good chances late in the game to maybe tie it up. You can look back at some goals you probably didn't like going in, and it feels like another loss. And then I go to the analytic numbers at Money Puck and Natural Stat Trick, and I'm like, did I watch the same game that it was charted as? Where were you at on last night's game?
Yeah, I think this is something that I love that you asked. Especially, I'm going to start from the analytics side of things and then just go into some of the stuff that we saw. But I saw a few people posting as well. Hey, the shot attempt numbers were great. The expected goals numbers were great. Or at least 50-50 or close to it. What in the world? Why, Murat, would you say that the Capitals controlled that game? And then just one little tweak to that. If you look at the actual shots on goal, Winnipeg didn't get its shots through. Washington did, and at 5-on-5, they outshot the Jets roughly 2-1. That's a sign of what happens when Scheifele's in the slot and somebody gets a stick check on him, and so his shot attempt is never really a shot. That's shots that get blocked. Those are misses, all that sort of stuff. That, because of the attempt having value from an analytical shot attempt model, for most expected goals model as well, that's going to catch, and it's going to say, hey, Winnipeg had just as many looks as Washington did. But I got to give the Capitals credit for their slot defense and getting into the way of those attempts. I got to say Winnipeg didn't do as good of a job of that. And I think that it was a pretty good game, probably better than it felt to lose as the Jets lost it. But I'm also, I think that there's some skill and will to the fact that Washington stopped some of those attempts from being real live shots.
Yeah, I mean, I've just got Money Puck up here, and I mean, the expected goals in all situations were 4.65 for Winnipeg to 2.44 for Washington, and I don't know. I mean, I maybe thought that it was a little closer than what the shot clock read at the end of the game, but I certainly didn't think I'd be diving into some of these things and seeing numbers that said the Jets had twice as many high-danger chances. But then when I sort of look back at the goals that went in, thinking, well, maybe they're onto something. Maybe we were a little too negative just because the fact that they were sort of chasing their game and didn't have the lead at any point.
Yeah, I mean, if you look, depending on what each model is going to look at, if you look at the shot locations for the Capitals' goals, they're from distance in a lot of cases, right? Carlson's is a great actual chance, but it's off the rush and from some distance. The Ovechkin goal is from just like bad angle, great distance, and it looked like two Jets dodged out of the way. Comrie didn't see it; it went in. There's the other goal looked like Comrie didn't see as well. Maybe it was the Chychrun goal.
It was the Chychrun one.
Yeah, so those are the types of goals that are going to show up as a shot attempt with not a lot of expected goals value to it because of the distance and bad angle and stuff like that. And I mean, you might put some of that on Comrie. He's going to have a tough time fighting through traffic at his size compared to a Connor Hellebuck type of goaltender. And you might just say that it's a little bit of stuff happening, and Winnipeg played better than it seems. I still go back to chances burned by the Jets that sort of still get in my craw though, Huss.
Yeah, well, and just, I mean, we'll get to that in just a second, but I did want to ask you, I mean, as we're going through this period where Connor Hellebuck isn't coming back anytime soon, how much of this game was Charlie Lindgren having a stronger game than Eric Comrie?
I mean, I think that's got to be part of it. Like, I guess I would see it in two ways. Winnipeg's defense probably, then the fourth goal being the breakaway or what have you. Winnipeg's defense may not have given up 4 goals worth of chances, but they did give up the middle of the ice. They did give up free entries. They did make it tough on their goaltender. And you get one of those back, the goalie fights through, he finds a way to see one more puck. That was a 1-goal game when it was over, was it not? So, like, you can include the goaltending in the critique of everything that happened. I think that would be fair to do. At the other end of the ice, I don't know if I feel that Lindgren played amazing. I really thought that there were some near net front opportunities for the Jets that Capitals D and forwards just got sticks on and made things just a little bit too miserable to actually convert those chances.
Well, the biggest topic coming out. Oh, actually, before I ask you this, I mean, do you think? I mean, Scott Arniel was obviously frustrated afterwards, talked about the lack of depth scoring. Kind of wasting a great game from that top line. When he goes back, dives into the numbers, into that game again, do you think he'll have at all a different opinion of it the day after than he did after last night's game?
I mean, I heard him tell Mike there that there were some things that were positive. So even if, I didn't think it was a scorched earth approach to that last night. And I think he'll see that. There were moments for the other lines, but I think that the idea that Winnipeg needs more secondary scoring is going to be validated however he looks through it. And outside of maybe Connor and Scheifele, you don't have a player who's going to generate zone time by himself. You don't have that automatic play driver like a Blake Wheeler in his prime and Nikolai Ehlers at his best. It's really two guys, and then Gabriel Velarde had a strong offensive game, but he's usually the third of 3 in that group. The rest of, forwards 4 through 12, you're not looking at any one of those guys and saying they're absolutely going to dominate zone time by themselves and create by themselves. And that's a problem. I think Adam Lowry can get there, give it a month, give it some amount of time for him to get up and running. There are days during Adam Lowry's best seasons as Winnipeg's second line shutdown center where he can bully his way into the offensive zone, keep pucks there, be heavy on the forecheck and on the cycle, and then great stuff happens. But he's not there yet. Taves did some good things early in that game, but he's not there yet where he's dominating flow of play. Cole Perfetti's still probably getting up to speed a bit from that ankle. He's not dominating flow of play. So I think that the storyline that Winnipeg needs help beyond Connor Scheifele and sometimes Velarde. I think that's very, very real, however you go back and look at that game.
Yeah, and I mean, we had an interesting conversation coming into yesterday's game with the way that the lines were sort of shaken up. The Lowry line back together with Nino and Iafallo. Then you had Vlad in the middle of one line, Taves with the other line with Nyquist and Barron. We were wondering, who's the second line? Like, how will things work out? Looking back at that game, how would you rank those lines beneath the Scheifele line that was so dangerous?
Yeah, I mean, I guess three-third lines. I don't know if that's harsh to say. I looked up what the actual minute distribution was in the end at 5-on-5, and I just don't remember it offhand. So Huss, I'm embarrassed. I'm looking it up right now as we're talking, and that's how I process it. It's which line plays. That's what I call it, right? So it's not about who's the most famous. Jonathan Taves' line with Nyquist and Barron actually did get the second most minutes at 5-on-5 last night. Nemestikov with Perfetti and Pearson were third, and then Lowry, Niederreiter, and Iafallo were fourth. Now, there were a couple minutes of line juggling elsewhere where Barron got a bump or Perfetti got a bump. A couple other different things happened. But if you go strictly based on the four lines that you were presented on paper, at 5-on-5s, Taves was number 2, Nemestikov was number 3, Lowry was number 4. And that's rare for the Winnipeg Jets. Lowry is a workhorse for them. And if there's more to that, like, again, there were minutes that they played while not the whole line was on the ice, right? So take this with a grain of salt. If we see Lowry's minutes dip for a while, it could be an honest assessment of, hey, he needs a little bit of runway before he's all the way back to good.
I saw it the same way as you did, especially when you broke down the numbers. And to be honest, I was really surprised at that. Like, I kind of thought over the last little bit that Lowry's line, when with Nino and Iafallo, had actually been real effective. I was amazed at how good Adam Lowry looked so quickly from coming back from that surgery. But last night, that line did not seem to, have that zone time and many of the characteristics of that, when they are playing well and then when they're on their game. They didn't really seem to have that. And, kind of looking back at, some of the chaos in front of the net at times, it did seem like that new look line with Nyquist and Barron with Taves in the middle was at least getting to the areas where goals are scored. And Taves early on in the game had that one glorious chance that I'm sure maybe kept him up a few extra minutes at night.
Yeah, I see it like that as well. And like Taves early in that game was doing things. Like, there is this movement, I think, in the last 5 to 10 games of his numbers that are improved. And originally it was when Perfetti and Nemestikov joined his line, but he's kept it going without them now. And there's signs of life that he's getting to about 50% of the expected goals, 50% of the shots, all that sort of stuff. That's a world better than his first half of the season metrics. Like, this guy's been dramatically outscored, dramatically outchanced for the majority of the season. He's getting going a little bit. So what can be there? The Jets need more if that's the guy that they're going to run out as their second line center. They need a lot more, but there are at least signs that there's some improvement there. That's good. You mentioned Lowry again. I think that there's just one period in the second period, maybe it was the last 8 minutes or so, where Winnipeg rolled lines wave over wave and actually continued to generate. And Lowry was a part of that. But outside of that chunk of the second, I thought that they were really having a lot of trouble controlling the flow of play with chances that mattered. And, they need to look better than that for longer than that if they're going to stretch some wins together.
Well, and I remember last night, I believe it was you that tweeted, and I felt the exact same thing. Like, man, this team can look good for 5 or 6 minutes.
Yeah.
But it's a 60-minute game, and if you're doing that for 5 or 6 minutes and then going 12 minutes without a shot, as they spend quite a bit of time in your own end, that's not usually an equation that you're going to end up on the right side of the ledger on, especially when your MVP netminder is not in the building.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I talk about flow of play so much, it might even get annoying for some folks. Flow of play, shot attempts, all that sort of stuff. Those I care about because they lead to the moments. But games are won in moments. Games are won by the goals that do go in. I think flow of play is great for guessing who's going to have more of those moments. You can't you can't have 5 to 6 good minutes a game where it looks legit, plus a few other sporadic moments and all that sort of stuff, and win. I guess I'm just repeating what you said, because there's going to be some breakdown during that other stretch of play where you're giving up your zone too easily. You're spending too much time in it. Transition defense has left you where there's going to be an opportunity for the other team that's too good to pass up. I think of that John Carlson goal as a good example of it yesterday, where it's not so much a mistake. Like, you can think the fourth goal where Perfetti passes it and it goes through Salamonson. That's just mistakes. That's bad execution in a moment. The excuse me. The first goal is bad process, bad decisions, I would say. You have, it looks like Dylan Samberg picks just the wrong time to slide over to his left. And it looks like there's a legitimate reason why he would do that, because Vilardi hasn't quite caught up to his man. But that leaves a guy open in the middle of the ice. That might be what kept Salamonson pinned to the middle of the ice instead of stepping up on Carlson. If not, then Salamonson does need to see Carlson as a threat. That whole thing gets better if you have a better back-checking fourth forward, and that would be Kyle Connor, who was in the picture but didn't have his feet moving all the way to get Carlson. Those are systemic, problematic things that will repeat. I don't think Salamonson is just going to miss that pass. I don't think Perfetti is going to make that pass, and it's going to go wrong 10 times out of 10. But that rush defense was a problem, and even if Winnipeg looks great, like we've said, for a few minutes at a time, you can't also do that at length and expect to win games.
Now, Murat, your latest is up at The Athletic. 5 changes the Winnipeg Jets need to make the playoffs. We'll get to that in just a moment, but I don't want to move on from last night's game without getting your thoughts on Elias Salmonson's debut in the National Hockey League. There was some good, there was some not so good. I mean, how do you unpack the first shot at the big show for the Jets' top prospect?
Yeah, I thought it was high event, and I really hope people look beyond the highlights, i.e. beyond the plays that led to goals, because Salmonson did a lot of good things. He did a lot of good things. I just critiqued the reads, but that was part of a cluster of reads and a good Washington Capitals counterattack on the first goal. Okay, that happens to so many defensemen in the NHL. That's a play that happens. The fourth goal that Washington scored, okay, there's a miscue as Perfetti goes back. It kind of looks like it's into his left skate area, and it handcuffed Salamonson because he's right-handed. So does he play it on the backhand? Does he reach with his forehand? It was just a cluster of a moment. That was a mistake. And if you look at the rest of the game, you get a whole bunch of crisp exit passes, smart breakout decisions. That puck got onto his stick and got onto the right outlet far more often than not, and more often, I would say, than Winnipeg's more frequent third-pairing defensemen this season, including veterans. So that is a big deal. In the offensive zone, he had 2 really nice, incisive passes. One was to Kyle Connor early in the first. Later in the first, in the build-up to what became Gabriel Vilardi's first goal, because it led to a scoring chance and a face-off, and then off that face-off, Vilardi scored. Really great shimmy from Salamonson at the line. He steps to his right. He keeps his head up, and then he finds the seam to Mark Scheifele in the middle of the ice. That is a good look. It's a confident play, and it's great execution on the pass. That creates a chance for the Winnipeg Jets as well. So you look at that with the puck on his stick. I feel really confident about it. Without the puck on his stick, I go back to a quote. Paul Maurice and I had a few one-on-one conversations in our day. One of the things he was adamant about, arguing with me one day, he said, Murat, if you want to know what a defenseman is thinking on the ice, just look where he's turning his head. I will tell you if I believe in a defenseman based on where he's scanning on the ice. And I think Elias Salomonsson was scanning and finding the right threats during D-zone coverage so well last night. I think he was doing it at an NHL level, and I think it's a really positive sense of who this player can become. It made me think that someday this is a top 4 defenseman who wins his minutes for the Winnipeg Jets. And my overall takeaways from this game, despite the goals against, are that this is a player who fits. It's a player who belongs. And whether he stays when everybody gets healthy or not, my view of him as a top 4 defenseman in the NHL someday, I feel like more solidified in that after his debut.
I agree with you on that. I thought he was really good at times, and I think there is a level of confidence that is going to grow after your first game in the league. And I really do hope that we see a little bit more of Elias over the course of this road trip and potentially back on home ice next week when the team returns from this 5-gamer. As far as the piece on The Athletic, no surprise at the top of the list, this team needs to find secondary scoring. Number 2 on the list was considering a top-line split. It's something that's been a definite topic in the chat, conversations around Jet fans. From your perspective, Murat, the pros, cons, and risk involved in splitting up Scheifele, Connor, Vilardi, especially after what we saw from them last night.
Yeah, I mean, we can start with the risk. Scott Arniel has one forward line that's going, and if you mess with that, you might mess with the only thing that's working in terms of generating offense for you. That is a real risk. And the fact that we haven't seen him break up the top line and try other options is compelling. It's compelling in terms of wanting to see what it could look like. But you have to understand that from a coach's perspective, when he has 78 problems to deal with on a given day, that top line going is one thing he doesn't have to worry about. And if he has any belief at all, he can find solutions for the rest of the group with only the players in the rest of the group. You can understand why he would set and forget that top line. Now, the pros of exploring such an idea are maybe you get 2 lines out of it instead of 1. That's really it, right? If Kyle Connor can drive play and create offense regardless of what line he's on, if he's so good he can do it with or without Mark Scheifele, well, then maybe there's a second line he can kickstart. If Mark Scheifele is so good that he can do it with or without Kyle Connor, maybe there's a second line that he can kickstart. Because, like I mentioned earlier, you're not seeing that dominance from Taves or Perfetti or, Nino Niederreiter or Adam Lowry right now. And it doesn't look like if those guys get there, it's going to be by the end of the season because chemistry was developed or because they recovered from the various things that they've dealt with early in the season. It's not there now. And so the potential pro is maybe you create 2 lines instead of 1. I was looking it up. There's no line in the NHL that's played as much together this year as Connor Scheifele and Vilardi have. The Jets' strength last year was consistency during the regular season. They ran with that. They had a second line that just crushed it with Lowry's line. Nemestikov's line outscored its opposition too, but they're not getting that right now. I think for me, I would understand if he kept things as they were for a little while. But if Hellebuck has come back, the Jets have continued to struggle through the rest of this month or so, I think through December, I should say, and they haven't at least looked at another option, I think that would be opportunity missed to gather more information about what they're capable of.
Yeah, no, listen, very fair. And I know Remis put up a poll. I'm a little surprised at this just from what we've heard, but should the Jets split up that top line? 68% saying no, they're a top line in the NHL. 32% saying yes, they need secondary scoring. When I think of this, and it's impossible not to think today and looking back at what made this team so good last year, there's one massive difference when it comes to that. Nikolai Ehlers is playing on the other team tomorrow. How different are Scott Arniel's options when talking about breaking up that top line and still wanting to have a dominant top line without Nikolai Ehlers in the building?
Well, it's tough because that's a game breaker missing. That's just a fact, right? Scott Arniel and I have talked about that. I think before last season, we had a sit down, just a one-on-one, and he was saying that was one of the best things about Nikolai Ehlers is that he could break open a game that wasn't necessarily, nothing was happening in it, and there would be Nikolai Ehlers flying through the neutral zone, creating something on the attack. He would be there. Now, he knew who he viewed as his number 1 guys. Like, when playoffs hit, he knew that it was Kyle Connor whose stick he wanted that puck to be on, but he also recognized the importance of having other weapons. And I don't think Winnipeg has that this year. Whether you like or loathe the playing style specifically of Nikolai Ehlers, which could get a bit chaotic, the facts were he could do things that other teams couldn't control, and sometimes that would lead to really good things happening for the Winnipeg Jets on lines that had nothing to do with Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele. That is a strength, whatever shape it comes in, and Winnipeg doesn't have it. I think that by the end of the year, Winnipeg can catch up, can be more than the sum of the parts that it has now, because I do expect continued progression from Taves. I expect progression from Lowry, from Perfetti. I expect them to be playing at a higher level in January, March than they are right now. But I still think on top of all those improvements, if the Winnipeg Jets are serious about this season, they do need one more game breaker. And his name's not going to be Nikolai Ehlers. They need to figure out who that player is.
You know, you do point out in the piece that it is important to remember that there is a lot of season left. It seems like maybe it's more difficult for Jet fans to think about that when we look at what's happening in the Central Division. Colorado being clearly the best team in the league, Dallas looking like Dallas again, and then Minnesota doing a complete 180 after that tough start and being one of the best teams in the league for the last month or so. So, I mean, there is that. But again, we're talking about a month without Connor Hellebuck. There's a lot of angst around. You mentioned in number 5, be bold enough to address things by trade. I would be shocked if Kevin Cheveldayoff hasn't been working the phones a lot more than he had been in the previous weeks, this week, considering where the team is at. If you are Kevin Cheveldayoff and you're trying to make something happen and improve the roster, where is the start? What is the piece that you're looking to bring back in, and what could be a difference maker to get this thing moving in a positive direction again and building some positive momentum?
Yeah, I think my view on kind of the shoulds of this situation are that this might not be the moment to break the bank in terms of what assets Winnipeg has, because you still have some racetrack. You still believe, if you're the Winnipeg Jets and you're Cheveldayoff and you do believe that this is a good team, then you're not throwing away your first round pick this year or next right away. You're not going top prospects right away. So then you got to be a little bit more specific in terms of your needs. It's not a star player coming back. I think an injection of speed into that bottom 9 group of forwards would be a really big deal. I think that's a type of player who would help. By the end of the season, if this is a contending team, you probably do need one more top 6 forward. You probably do need one more top 4 defenseman if Salomonson doesn't become it. And I'm trying to stay patient thinking about next year for him. So those are the long-term trades. If Cheveldayoff is to strike now and go that big in terms of a top 6 forward or top 4 defenseman, it's got to be for somebody who has term. No more Sean Monaghan's, no more Tyler Toffoli's. That should be done. But maybe what makes more sense would be a minor trade, a depth pick for like a mid-round pick for a player who can be a speedster in the middle 6 or something to that effect. I don't think that trade is out there right here and now, but it's the sort of thing where you look at a minor move to try to kickstart things before you really swing big. And I'm not sure that that's necessarily what's coming down the pipe, but that's the type of thing I'd be looking at.
Murat, before we go, we were talking about an injection of speed, and we saw those ugly numbers that they posted on speed bursts and all that. Jets bottom of the league. They do have a very talented, fast young player that started off the season in Brad Lambert that's now with the Moose and has apparently been looking for a trade. Just thoughts. I don't think we've talked about this before. Thoughts on the Brad Lambert situation overall?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the best thing Brad Lambert can do for himself, whether he's a Winnipeg Jet for life or a trade piece, is really to tear the cover off that ball in the AHL. And that's something that he hasn't quite been able to do for the last year or so. He had that really good rookie season, AHL All-Star, all that sort of stuff. And then, last year the Jets went veteran heavy. This year the Jets went veteran heavy. He probably also noticed that Parker Ford and Nikita Chibrikov got more minutes and more games played than he did. I wouldn't blame that player at all for thinking, hey, if I do have a shot somewhere, it's probably there might be other teams anyways that I would have a better shot than this one that has committed so heavily to veterans. The thing that he can control is his own play. And I think that you're going to want to see him really throw something close to a point per game on these Manitoba Moose that are chaining wins together, that are winning a lot of games in the last couple of weeks anyway. And then whether that means he's forced Winnipeg's hand and they have to call him up and make him a Winnipeg Jet, well, then he's earned that. It could also win over opposing teams who might trade for him Because there's a chance right now, based on his most recent year and a half of play, that a team that's trading for him is going to put him in their minor league situation as well. That's kind of how I see it from his perspective. From the Jets' perspective, you have a ton of leverage. The player's on an ELC. He's not holding out. He likes the city. He likes the organization outside of his lack of opportunity in it. There's no rush to do anything that you don't think helps the team. You can sit on this one for a little while, I think, if you're Kevin Shoveldayoff.
Best case scenario would be exactly what you said. Go out, have a great couple weeks, play yourself back into the conversation that, wait a second, we need more speed. This guy's hot at the AHL level. Give him another shot, and maybe he comes back in a different role and can make things happen. But for the meantime, they could use to get faster. He's certainly a guy that checks that off the box. It's a matter of getting everything else ready to be a regular NHLer. And I'm with you. I don't anticipate anything happening anytime soon. If he's an asset that helps them get something else that they want, I guess that's on the table. But I have a feeling we'll be having some more conversations like this in the coming weeks and months. It's up at The Athletic, folks. 5 changes the Winnipeg Jets need to make the playoffs. We're already talking playoffs at American Thanksgiving. And it's been a tough run for the Jets as of late. Murat, I hope you have a great weekend. Enjoy the games tomorrow and on Saturday. And we'll look forward to catching up with you next week.
Awesome. Thanks, Huss. Thanks for having me.
There's Murat Atesh at WPG Murat, and his latest up right now at theathletic.com. We will be diving into the Clean Line lines tomorrow on the program, which will basically work as a de facto pre-game show. We'll be live at 1 p.m. We'll have that NFL game between the Eagles and the Bears starting at 2, and then a 4 o'clock puck drop for Winnipeg and Carolina. We'll see whether we get confirmation that it will be Thomas Milich's first start in the National Hockey League. Of course, our lines always brought to you by Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical. Your local leader for over 40 years, family owned and operated in business, and the official plumbing service of the Winnipeg Jets. You see the captain, Adam Lowry, there. Like, he has the Jets back. Clean Line has your back with 24/7 emergency service for residences, and of course, one of the biggest commercial plumbing, heating, and electrical operations in town as well. Find out more at cleanline.ca. And again, when you're in a jam, much like our pal Scott Westman showed us in the chat earlier, give our pal Jeremy and the gang at Clean Line a call and hit them up online at cleanline.ca. BP, big day today with the Thanksgiving Day action in the National Football League. Got a good one right now between the Packers and Lions into the second half. Chiefs Cowboys later on. Ravens Bengals tonight. For primetime NFL football, it's Boston Pizza. Winnipeg Jet games, it's Boston Pizza. And don't forget, the flight menu is out right now with the pizza flights, wing flights, bite flights, fry flights, and your chance to win that BP grand prize of a trip for 2 to see the Jets and Ducks in Southern California at the end of February. Of course, our gang Royal Sports are ready for Black Friday. I was talking to Greg last night, and if you go to Royal Sports Winnipeg on Instagram, you can see it all. But the Black Friday sale beginning tomorrow through December 1st will have over $250,000 of hockey sticks on sale, up to 50% off. Brooks Footwear, 40% off. Warrior Player Equipment, 50% off. Shin pads, shoulder pads, elbow pads, pants. They've also got Vans MTE footwear for 30% off. And as you get ready for Christmas, buy a $25 gift card and get another one for 50% off. Tons of apparel for 50% off. The deals are underway tomorrow for Black Friday through December 1st at Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. All right, we're going to talk a little curling. Heartbreak for our girl Carrie Anerson in her quest to represent Canada at the Olympics. Just before we bring in our pal John Cullen, let's give a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, we've been waiting for this all week long. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty at the Canadian Olympic Curling Trials. So much Manitoba talent in the event, looking to represent Canada at the Olympics, and who better to talk to than our pal John Cullen. Cullen on curling. He's got the new book out as well. What's going on, pal? Great to have you back on the show.
Thanks, Huss. Thanks for having me back. Always a pleasure to talk curling with you. And what a week so far. I feel like I'm still recovering from that semifinal we just witnessed.
Yeah, I mean, let's get to it. I was sort of keeping my eye on it as we've been doing the show. Such a great start for Carrie Anderson, who was alone at the top for about 80% of the round robin. And now she's going home after losing to the hometown hero, Christina Black. What happened this aft?
Yeah, it's just with a 8-team round robin, but you only play 7 games in the round robin, and things can just happen quickly. You know, we saw it with Brad Guzhu yesterday, came into yesterday with 1 loss, and then all of a sudden you go bang, bang, and you're going home. And so, yeah, I think for Carrie, you're right. She was in the lead most of the way. Rachel Homan had that weird early loss to Kayla Skurlik. And but then just went on a run. And I think as far as this afternoon goes, the story for me was a story really of draw weight. It felt like the ice has been tricky all week long. I don't know how much of it you've been able to catch. I know you're a busy man and really focused on the Jets and everything, but the frost situation in Halifax has been tough. They've been having some issues with some dehumidifiers in the building. It's been unseasonably warm outside in Halifax, and so the ice conditions have been a little bit tricky. And Christina Black really, really dialed in to draw weight. She kind of had it right from the start of the game today. And on the other side, Carrie didn't really have it. And for me, that was kind of the story of the whole game. Christina said in her post-game interview, she wanted to play patient. She wanted to kind of let the game come to her. And one way you can do that is by controlling your opponent through making great freezes, really timely draws. Christina did that. Carrie didn't. She took her chance in 9, got her 3, and that's all she wrote.
Yeah, I mean, at this level, especially in a tight game like that, a 3 can be basically a death sentence. And unfortunately, that was the case. Overall, I mean, the Anderson team has gone through so much over the last couple of years. This is the goal of all of these teams. Obviously, they're falling short of their goal. How will that team look back on this year and this last couple of years, knowing that the Homan rink has been such a buzzsaw, everyone expected them to win? Did they meet their expectations, or did they leave something on the rink?
I think it's impossible for them not to look back at this and the whole curling world and go, what if? What if Brianne Harris doesn't get suspended for basically a year? They had won 4 Scotties in a row. Rachel Homan, yes, they've had an amazing last 2 years, but what people don't necessarily remember is that, their first year wasn't great together. Carrie won a Scotties that this Rachel Homan team, as currently constructed, was in. And I think a lot of us thought that Carrie was the best team in Canada. And then obviously all the stuff goes down with Brianne. And that's just going to be the story of this quad for them. If they were able to stay together, the 4 of them with Val, Shannon, Brianne, and Carrie, are they more of a challenge for Rachel Homan than they ended up being? I think that's going to be the story for sure. As far as leaving stuff on the ice, I think both Carrie and Val would tell you that today was not their best game. And so I think that is something that they'll think about too. Wasn't a particularly great game for Carrie Anderson or Val Sweeting today. But ultimately, were they going to beat Rachel Homan in the final? I'm not so sure. And I think that I'm expecting changes there next quad for sure. And I think that's really going to be the next thing to pay attention to with them is where does this kind of go for them off the ice?
Now, just staying with the women for a minute, I mean, Homan, as someone that follows the betting quite a bit, Homan was a minus 1250 favorite to win the whole thing, which in a field like this is just, ridiculous, to be perfectly honest. And yet, there she is. It's a best-of-3 final against the hometown hero, Christina Black. I'm sure the Black rink is going to be getting a ton of love in Halifax. And just quickly on that, speaking of Halifax, real heavy hearts with the passing of Colleen Jones during this event where it's being hosted in Halifax. I mean, certainly a sentimental favorite, for everyone there. And I mean, listen, this isn't just people out east that are mourning Colleen's loss. She truly was an icon of the game and broadcasting post her playing career.
Yeah, I mean, to touch on Colleen quickly first, I mean, no question about it. Absolute legend of the game, and all the tributes are true. I've gotten lucky enough to know Colleen a little bit over the last few years, and everything everyone is saying is true. Truly just a wonderful person, had time for everybody, really great to be around. And you're right, the trials being in Halifax almost feels fitting this week with her passing, because she loved curling so much. And I know was looking forward to, being at this trials. Her daughter-in-law, Marley Powers, is on Christina Black's team. She's engaged to Colleen's son, Luke, but, daughter-in-law, whatever, close enough. And so there's that. Like, Luke's been at every game. Some of Colleen's former teammates, her family, they've kind of had a box at every game. Christina's talked a lot about growing up and how much she obviously looked up to Colleen. How could you not, as a Nova Scotia athlete, with the amount of success that Colleen had? So yeah, it does feel like there's just something special in the air there. And I do think that's going to maybe add some intrigue to the finals that wasn't there before. Is it enough? Like, is the hometown support enough to help Christina Black against Rachel Homan? But yeah, I mean, Homan is so dominant. They look good in this event. And yeah, if they were minus 1250 before the event started, with them playing a best of 3 against a team ranked about 40 places lower than them in the world and having the hammer in all 3 games, I would imagine they're probably a bigger favorite now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It would seem like it's going to take a miracle not to have the Homan rink representing Canada at the Olympic Games. Let's move over to the men's side. We'll have the semi tonight. Maddie Dunstone, who kind of similar to Carey, had the great start and then faltered, got in on account of a tiebreaker. He's going up against Mike McEwen, and of course, Brad Jacobs waiting in the final. What were the big takeaways from the round robin for you, John?
Well, I think we can start at the top. Brad Jacobs was one of the 2 favorites coming in. Him and Matt Dunstone are ranked 2 and 3 in the world. Dunstone is 2, Jacobs is 3 coming in. And Jacobs has looked like the best team all week. For me, they fully deserve to be in the finals. They had that opening misstep against Kevin Cooey, who you wouldn't have thought they would have lost to, but Brad didn't play well. He took ownership of that after the game, said it was 100% my fault we lost. They've rattled off 6 wins since then. They look like the clear favorite to me. When it comes to the 2 teams in the semifinal, Mike McEwen just always one of those guys. He's thrived at flying under the radar. He's been one of the best curlers of this generation. I don't think he's ever gone into a trials or a Brier being considered a favorite. And he made the trials final in 2017. He looks loose and relaxed in a way that a lot of the teams tend to not look at the trials, which is dangerous. He's also coming off of pummeling Matt Dunstone last night. So that has to give him some confidence too. For Matt, I think they were the best team coming into the event. They've played really, really well this year. They made all 3 slam finals. They won 1 of them. They won the PointsBet Invitational. And it's just, Matt is a guy, he plays with his emotions on his sleeve. You can feel the emotional roller coaster he's going through every time he's out there. And so for me, the story is, how do they recover, right? Because they kind of had a playoff spot sewn up, and they had their fate in their own hands, and they blew it, and got lucky. Brad Guzhu makes that triple on his last one. Matt Dunstone's on a flight home to Kamloops today. So so for me, it's, can he rebound from the emotional letdown of yesterday? Kind of got in, not on a technicality, but didn't get in by winning his way in. He lost his way into the playoffs, and he's an emotional guy. So for me, it's just, can he recover from that? Is 24 hours enough time to recover from that? Because I think on paper, they're a better team than McEwen, but if they look the way they looked last night, then we'll be saying bye to them in about 8 hours from now.
Yeah, well, listen, they're going to have to go into a clean slate, knowing that they got to win a game, and then, it's a best of 3 against Brad Jacobs that could go either way. He's a slight favorite over the McEwen rink. I mean, handicap this one tonight. By the way, do we already know who has the hammer for this game?
For this game, it would be McEwen. McEwen had a better round robin record than Dunstone. So yeah, McEwen will have it.
So that's an advantage for McEwen.
Definitely.
Who do you expect to be going up against Jacobs, and particularly for the Dunstone rink? What needs to be different today from what we saw at the end of the round robin?
I think we just got to see that confidence. Matt, we kind of joke about it on the broadcasts with the slams. We call him heel clicking Matt. When Matt's kind of, he's sliding up and down the ice, and he almost looks like a little leprechaun out there. He's
got some swagger.
Yes, he's got a little bit of when things are going well for him. There's a little bit of heel clicking Matt that we always say, and he kind of, at the beginning of the event, he had that. He was in his zone. He was feeling really good, and he's lost that the last couple days. And so I would say he's got to find a way to tap into that. You made the playoffs, right? Like, that's your goal at the start of the week, is make the playoffs. Only one team gets that bye to the final. So, of course, you want that when you start the week, but you got to just be happy with, we are in the playoffs. This is what we would have wanted at the start of the week. Let's put the disappointment of yesterday behind us. Because, yeah, as I said, I do think they are a better team than Mike McEwen ultimately. And so I think that that's really the key for them. If they play their best game, they will beat Mike McEwen. But it's all between the ears for them, I think, at this point. It's, can they get back to that heel clicking, having a good time out there, finding fun in the elements in Halifax tonight, I think.
Regardless of who wins, will Jacobs be a prohibitive favorite, or is this, I think we can all agree it'll be a lot more up for grabs, at least perceived that way, than the women's side of things. But how big of a favorite is Jacobs, knowing that he's going to have the hammer and he'll be there waiting for the winner?
Yeah, I think it depends on opponent, Huss, is the way that I would say it. I think that if McEwen finds a way to beat Dunstone tonight, I think the numbers would favor Jacobs. I'm not a betting guy, but I would imagine a Jacobs-McEwen final, you're probably looking at Brad as a minus 250 favorite to win that, maybe minus 300. Whereas I think if Dunstone finds a way to win, even with the sort of stumbles he's had the last couple of days, if he looks good against McEwen tonight, I think Brad would be more like a minus 150. So I think it does depend on opponent, but I would say Jacobs is the favorite. I always look at how the teams are playing going into this, right? And genuinely this week, Jacobs has been the best team. To this point this year, Dunstone has been better than Jacobs. He's beat him twice on the slam circuit this year. He beat him in the points bet. Like, Dunstone looks better than Jacobs coming in, but now we're here. Well, all that goes away. Jacobs has looked the better team this week. So for me, I think it doesn't matter who comes out of the semifinal. Jacobs is my favorite. But as I outlined, I would agree with the betting odds in those cases. I would favor Jacobs over McEwen much more of the time than I would favor Jacobs over Dunstone.
Here's an interesting one. And this is, I'll put this to you just because, our friend Natalie DeLeon said, this curling stuff makes no sense to me, how they choose the winners. Does Team Canada choose the best players of top teams? Or maybe why don't they choose the best players and build like some sort of a super team? It doesn't really work that way in curling.
No, it doesn't. It's a good question, Natalie. And a lot of curling fans, especially when the Olympic trials rolls around, people pay attention to curling for the first time in 4 years and they go, what the hell am I looking at? And I think really the story is twofold in Canada, at least. The first is just our depth. We have, there's something like 1.5 million registered curlers in the world, and over 1 million of those are in Canada. So, we just have a depth that other countries don't have. And so the idea of we have a trials rather than selecting a team is to help foster that depth, right? You want to give these Canadian teams a carrot at the end of this, right? You want them to have a chance at the Olympics, whether that's a small chance or a big chance. Teams are gunning for the trials they want to get in. And then as far as like not selecting the teams, I think curling teams they're just very unique. It's only 4 people. You spend all of your waking hours together. It's not like a hockey team where you're together in the dressing room and then you get on a bus and you go to a hotel. You only hang out with the guys on your team you like. If you have a guy on your NHL team you don't like, you might only see him for like 1 to 4 hours a day. It's not like curling. Like, if you have someone on your team you don't like, you're with them the whole time. Like, there's no separation really. at all. It's such a small team game. And so I think ultimately Curling Canada has decided that the best way to let teams form is to let them form themselves. That, these teams know which personalities might work well for them. And it's worked for us. I mean, we tend to win a lot of medals at Worlds and Olympics. The world is catching up. And so maybe, 10 years from now, will we move to a format where we're a little bit more selective about our teams and Curling Canada has a say? Maybe. But for now, we're having enough success in trusting the curlers that these are the best possible teams to put together, that's kind of why we've allowed them to do that, I guess.
Hey, now that, this, what do they call it? A quadrennial is coming to an end.
Yep.
How insane is the free agent frenzy in curling? I mean, the last couple of years, at times where normally the changes don't happen, has been bananas. I mean, how different is just this landscape of the sport in the country going to be when things start off next season?
Yeah, well, that's the other thing that comes along with curling team changes, right? Is we make all the changes ourselves. So there are countries where they do select teams, even the USA, just to the south of us, for example, they have a high performance program. They let 12 curlers per gender into the high performance program every year. And every year they tell them the combination of 12 players they're like, you're on team 1, you're on team 2, you're on team 3. And obviously they let the curlers have some say in that. But ultimately, if they say you're off this team and you're on this team, you don't have a choice unless you don't want to be funded. And so in Canada, it's different, and it's different than any other sport. There's no GMs, there's no owners. You got to do it all yourself. It's the most exciting part of the sport for a fan. It's a dreadful part of the sport for a curler. Some of the worst conversations I ever had in my life were team-changing conversations with former teammates that I've had in the past. I think to answer your question, Huss, this offseason is going to be crazy because I think we're going to see quite a few retirements, particularly on the men's side. And so I think that's going to have a huge factor as well. It's not just that, we're going to have this usual team shuffle, but I think it's also like curlers are deciding about retirement. I think some of them even right now don't know whether they're going to retire at the end of this year or not. But there's the possibility we're going to have a mass exodus of men's players in this country, and it's going to kind of throw everything up in the air. But yeah, teams are at the trials right now competing for Olympic spots, and in the background are also talking to, in some cases, their opponents in these Olympic trials about like, hey, you want to play together next year, next squad? What are you doing? What's going on? So it creates a very different atmosphere this time of year for sure.
Well, and of course, we already know that Brad Gushu's hanging him up, and he's been dominant for the last decade. So, I mean, we really will be going into a new era. John Cullen's with us, getting ready for semifinals tonight. A lot of Manitoba flavor in this one. Matty Dunstone's squad going up against Mike McEwen, the winner to take on Brad Jacobs. The women's final is set. The Holman Buzzsaw will go up against the Black Rink from Nova Scotia in Halifax. John, always great catching up with you. Hey, if people missed your last visit, we talked about your new book, and considering it's Black Friday and the holidays are coming up, there's a lot of curling fans in and around here. Quickly, before we go, tell them about Curling Rocks, the Chronicles of the Roaring Game.
I brought a copy with me. There it is, Curling Rocks, Chronicles of the Roaring Game. As you said, it is a collection of essays about the sport. It's some about my own career. It's a lot about the pro game. It's supposed to be funny, touching. It's unlike any curling book that's ever been written, I would say. It came out in October, but as you said, great time of year. If you don't know what to get for that in-law that you can never decide what to buy for, if they like curling, this is the book for them. So yeah, it's available wherever you get your books. And lots of people have been saying lots of really nice things. Oh, someone just said they just bought my book yesterday. That's very, very nice. Thank you so much. I've been getting a lot of great feedback from both curlers and non-curlers. It's been really cool. So yeah, check it out. Curling Rocks, Chronicles of the Roaring Game.
Shout out to Nicole J.
Thank you, Nicole.
Just got it. We got your back here in the peg. I think the sales will be very good for Curling Rocks as we get closer to the holidays. John, enjoy the games tonight, which should be an awesome weekend. And we'll definitely, book you to come back and talk a little bit about the Olympics coming up, because there's no bigger event in the sport than the Olympic Games. And no matter what happens this weekend, we'll have two pretty excellent Canadian teams with high hopes going into Italy.
Yeah, no question. We're heading into the Thunderdome. We go Scotties, we go Olympics, then we go Brier. So yeah, it's a very exciting time to be a curling fan, and I say it every time, but love being on your show, and I will come back anytime. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, pal. There's John Cullen at Cullen on Curling. If you want some links to some indie bookstores as well, go to Cullen on Curling, and the piece that he's got up on the book will take you to some good spots where you can support some good local and independent bookstores while picking up Curling Rocks for friends and family coming up at the holidays. All right, we got a banger here. Lots of points in the first game. Packers up by 10. We're going to talk NFL in just a second with Thomas Tipple. But I do want to drop for you the first of our power polls for the week, brought to you by Chud's Power Sports. Today we get into the NHL power poll. We'll do NFL tomorrow, and it should be interesting because we'll have some games that have already taken place, some others that won't. Of course, our power poll is brought to you by Chud's Power Sports, Manitoba's Power Sports Superstore up in Gimli, serving the community for over 80 years. Great deals on right now in advance of winter with snowmobile season just around the corner. Lock in pre-season deals on Polaris and Arctic Cat sleds before the flakes fly. Check them out online at chudspowersports.com. All right, in reverse order. Number 5 is the Carolina Hurricanes. Hurricanes right up near the top of the Eastern Conference standings at 14-7-2. At number 4, we're giving them the nod as the top team in the East right now. It really came down to Tampa, Jersey, and Carolina. Jersey 9-0-1 at home, great. But I'm giving the Tampa Bay Lightning, after a really rough start, they have been steamrolling right now. They get number 4. And yes, this is going to frustrate Jet fans, but it's hard to go any other way than the top 3 teams in the NHL all right now reside in the Central Division. Like the Lightning, the Minnesota Wild had a really ugly start. Like the Lightning, they've been one of the best teams in the league for more than a month right now. The Wild get the 3 spot in the Chud Sports Power Poll. And then it's the usual suspects. Dallas, after the humiliation of Edmonton earlier this week without Mikko Rantanen and Matt Duchene and Thomas Harley, they're knocking on the door, but there's a big gap between number 2 and number 1. Dallas is number 1 on the Chud Sports Power Poll. And Remis, absolutely no surprise who the number 1 team is. It's been about a month since they've lost in regulation. We bet them on the puck line every night, and they seem to cover every night. They annihilated San Jose last night. The number 1 spot on the Chud's Power Sports Power Poll, to the surprise of absolutely nobody, the Colorado Avalanche.
Man, you look at some of their stats, Huss. Colorado, I saw, Mike Kelly put out some numbers, and I was like, just look at, this is the one stat that's crazy to me. So yeah, 10 straight wins, 3 shutouts, 1 regulation loss in 23 games. And that only loss was when they outshot their opponent 33-19 and 18-8 from the slot. And you look at sort by league goal differential, Colorado's goal differential on the season, plus 44. The next closest team is Dallas at plus 16. They are head and shoulders above the rest of the league. It's been pretty incredible to watch.
Yeah, we'll unfortunately be dealing with this Avalanche team all season long. And, at this point, we're talking about the Jets making the playoffs. That 8th wildcard spot's not going to be a very fun spot to be in, even if you make the playoffs, because I think it's pretty safe that a plane ticket to Denver for games 1 and 2 of round 1 is going to be on the docket for whoever finishes in the 8th spot this year. Huge thanks to our friends at Chud's Power Sports up in Gimli for their support of WST. NFL Power Poll for Chuds coming up tomorrow. Speaking of the NFL, let's get to the action on Turkey Day south of the border and welcome in our pal Thomas Tipple from fantasypoints.com. Follow on all channels at El Nostra Thomas. This is always such a fun day. How have you enjoyed it so far?
Well, it's not often you guys get me while I'm on the clock. We're on the clock. You know, the thing about being a Canadian working at American holidays is that Everyone else is busy enjoying the holidays, and well, I'm covering ground, so we're here. I'm in the weeds here. I've thousands of dollars down the drain with this Amon-Ra St. Brown injury. I'm trying to show up as positive as I can be, but it's a sad day for me. I'm feeling it right now. A lot of dynasty teams with Amon-Ra panicking at the moment. Absolutely crushed today by the injury.
What was the nature of it? I mean, we've obviously been doing the show and just sort of kind of following the score. I mean, is it a bad one? Do we expect him to be out beyond this game?
If it's a high ankle sprain, you can't count on him the rest of the year. High ankle sprains for wide receivers are brutal, especially wide receivers that rely on short space quickness. He got rolled up on a running play, and that's that. We've seen that story a bunch of times. Didn't look like a tear, walked off on his own, but if it's that dreaded high ankle sprain, it's 3 to 4 weeks. That's a fantasy playoffs. Like I said, thousands. I'm unwell, Huss. I'm not doing well.
I hear you, and of course we both have the stress of our teams playing later on. We'll get to those games in just a minute with maybe a couple plays that you like for both games. The story of this game so far is the Detroit defense has had a real tough time stopping the long balls from Jordan Love. And like we always see, I mean, a few drops, fourth down plays that haven't gone their way. And despite getting the offense going after a slow start, Green Bay still seemingly in full control of this game now with 7 minutes left.
Yeah, it's amazing that you say deep balls. I mean, Jordan Love only has 210 yards, right? So it feels like there's deep balls. I just think with how the NFL is now, I think any pass that's like 15 yards, we're like, oh, downfield. But it's not really any of that 50-yard, huck it, chuck it football type stuff. But the rest of this game is going to be interesting. It's nice to see that Jameson Williams is what the fantasy community has been yelling at me that he is. It just only took Sam Laporta being injured for the season, Jahmyr Gibbs getting a bit of rest after carrying the team 3 days ago, and Amon-Ra being injured. So what that does signal to me, though, is Jameson Williams must bet on every game the rest of the year if everyone else is depleted. Also, I never want to see David Montgomery on a football field again. Can we please? Every time they let this guy touch the football, I want to fall asleep. It's brutal with this game, but I'm excited for your Chiefs here, Huss. This game is the game I am excited for. You guys need it.
Oh, yeah.
You need it, and boy, Dallas might provide it.
It's a juicy matchup. I mean, two teams with big fan bases. They're saying that this could be a 50 million person audience on the holiday. So it really does seem like prime time. And listen, I'm always going to be giddy about Patrick Mahomes and his chances, but this game going up against the 32nd ranked pass defense in his first ever pro game at AT&T Stadium, where he is from, this just feels like a big-time Mahomes game.
Yes, well, you want to talk about big time? What do they not do well is beat man coverage. What do the Cowboys refuse to get out of? Zone coverage. So unless the Dallas Cowboys are going to do something that they just have not done all season, look, Patrick Mahomes averaged 14.6 fantasy points per game over his last 3 games. But that was a high of 18.1. The low has been low. He averaged 25 fantasy points per game over the first 8. He was QB1, exceeding 23 points in 7 of 8 of those games. Well, like I mentioned, they can't beat man. They have faced man coverage at a 34% clip. That's the third most. Well, Dallas plays an 80.1% zone coverage. Second most. They're also one of the worst defenses in football. Patrick Mahomes should be all systems go, and that means big things for our guy, Rashee Rice. But before I get to Rice, Isaiah Pacheco coming back does not mean to me he's getting a full-on workload. Kareem Hunt has played 77.1% of the team snaps, RB6. He's received 83% of the backfield shares, averaged 15.6 fantasy points per game. That's good for RB12. That's on an expected 16.6 fantasy points per game. What does that mean? That means he's getting what they are giving him. He's not breaking out big runs. I mean, if we've seen Look, I feel like I could put my pads back on now with my broken knees at 37 and at least keep up with them. He's not breaking any of these big long runs, but he is getting the goal line work. He is a anytime touchdown scorer for me today, even with Pacheco back. When Pacheco was playing, they were still loading up Kareem Hunt at the goal line. But Dallas is allowing just 13.5 fantasy points per game to opposing running backs over the last 2 weeks since adding Jets Quinn and Williams. They want to shut down the run, which could be, like I said, really bad for the running game outside of the touchdowns, but that does not mean we can't get Rashee Rice. Only 25% of Rashee Rice's targets inside the 10-yard line have resulted in a touchdown. I want to say that again. Only a quarter of Rashee Rice's targets inside the 10-yard line have resulted in a touchdown. The league average amongst wide receivers and tight ends this season, Huss, is 45%. That is an any touchdown bet if I've ever seen one. Rice ranks top 5 in such targets. That's 8, despite playing half of the games. He is their guy inside. So I am going anytime touchdown Hunt, anytime touchdown Rashee, and I got to say George Pickens because he has been insane. However, coach speak on CeeDee Lamb, Huss, I don't know how into the interviews you are, but the Coach Speak Index is a phenomenal follow over on Twitter. He watches every single press conference and gives you the rundown, and he tracks their reliability on injuries and playing time. He said, quote, CeeDee Lamb has that look in his eye like he did after week 1. I expect a ton of balls to go 88's way. Shout out Coach Speak Index. He does a lot of work with us over at fantasypoints.com. You want a betting edge? Coach Speak Index is one of the premier pages that you can be following. He also has a Discord if you're into that sort of thing.
For the folks that fired up Cool Bet, I will add one more in. I think this is going to be a big Mahomes game. The homecoming, the Cowboys defense. I've got him at over 2.5 passing touchdowns, a little sprinkle on 3.5. And I will tell you, I think, their motto of EGE, everybody got to eat. I have a feeling he's going to have a lot of company around that turkey after the game. I love the Rashee Rice. Another guy, former Texas Longhorn, that I think they're going to be getting the ball to is Xavier Worthy. Worthy is sort of feast or famine at times. I've got a little bit of him, and it's better than 2-1 right now at 208.
Worthy's kind of their man beater. So for me, the Rashee Rice stuff at the cost is okay. For me, if you want a deeper shot wide receiver anytime touchdown, Marquise Brown is 1 touchdown away from hitting a significant bonus in his contract. And I can tell you, yes, teams pay attention. They're very aware of who needs what for their bonuses. There's the famous Gronk and Brady clip that the NFL likes to always play when Gronk walked up to Brady and he said, hey, Tom, I'm 1 catch short on my bonus. This is the last game of the year. They were taking those guys out. They went back out, called a screen, got him his bonus, took him out, and went to the playoffs. So they're very aware. Marquise Brown 1 touchdown shy of, I think it's a $500K bonus igniter on his contract. So you're definitely going to want to be paying attention to that. Those are the slight edges you can get if you're really, really getting nitty gritty on the gambling side.
Yeah. And listen, I mean, Marquise Brown over 4-1 for a touchdown. So
yeah, that's a good bet.
Add that to the card. I think they're going to spread the wealth today in this game. Your Ravens going up against the Bengals. Bengals get Joey Burr back. No T. Higgins. He's out. Jamar Chase returns from suspension. Listen, these divisional games in the AFC North are notoriously close, even when they shouldn't be. I mean, I have a hard time laying the points with the Ravens.
Don't.
I'm in on the Bengals. I think this will be a fun game. This is sort of their Super Bowl. You get Burrow back. They're not doing anything. They're trying to make a statement going into next year. But as far as props, whether it be touchdown scorers or anything else, what are you feeling for Cincy Baltimore tonight?
I have got obviously a Derrick Henry anytime touchdown. We know that the Bengals are a historically bad rushing defense. 6 carries inside the 5-yard line as well in week 12 for Derrick Henry were the most by any running back in a regular season game. In the fantasy points data, history. That goes back, I believe, to 2021 when it was released. And Derrick Henry has run uncharacteristically cold on those chances. He's converted just 29% of those into touchdowns. That's 23rd of 32. Last year, he was scoring on 50% of those carries. That's fifth most in the league. But when we zoom out, he's still turned 17.4 expected fantasy points per game into 16.9. That means he's barely underperforming. That means there's a lot of points left on the table. Obviously, we know Lamar Jackson's not healthy. Ankle injury, toe injury, hamstring. He's banged up. But what that does mean is handing the ball to Derrick Henry all game. They want to keep it away from Jamar Chase, who averages, if I'm not mistaken, 185 plus yards over the last couple of years versus the Ravens. I'm obviously picking an anytime Derrick Henry touchdown. However, I will say this. Last time I checked, Keaton Mitchell was hovering somewhere in and around 13.5 to 15 rushing yards. I would be taking that without a doubt. He's one of those players with no Justin Hill. He was added late in the week with a neck injury, and with how they handled them at a BK situation, not taking that as seriously as they should have. They're going to take the time with Justice Hill. Keaton Mitchell is going to be the 2. They are going to take Derrick Henry off the field today at times, seeing as how they played just 4 days ago. So short week for them. Expect Keaton Mitchell. I actually have Keaton Mitchell for an anytime touchdown today. I mean, I believe that's plus 850. If I'm not mistaken, last time I checked, that market could have moved on Bet365. You're going to want to pay attention to that. But this Bengals defense is so bad stopping the run. Keaton Mitchell could take one ball 50 yards and score at any given moment. He is so far and away their most explosive player on offense, even more explosive than Lamar is right now. I do have the Bengals with the points. Like I am taking the 7. Last time I checked, I believe it was 7 for the Ravens as favorites. There's just something about these AFC North games that I don't like betting. Look, obviously I would love the Ravens to win this game, but also avoid the Zay Flowers expectations. He is going to get shadowed by DJ Turner, who is, as bad as the Bengals defense has been, DJ Turner has been an absolute force in shutting down teams' wide receiver ones. So I am not looking forward to the Zay Flowers. However, Mark Andrews' anytime touchdown is always live and on the board. On the other side of the game, I'm obviously taking a Jamar Chase anytime touchdown. If you're not, I think you are insane. But if you want the sneaky pick for me, it's Mike Gesicki. Anytime that T. Higgins or Jamar Chase misses time, the tight end over in Cincinnati tends to go absolutely insane. 7 targets a game, 57.8 receiving yards per game, and 12.6 fantasy points per game across 6 games that T. Higgins or Jamar Chase have missed over the past 2 seasons. It's not a small track record. Those marks would be good for tight end 3, 6, and 8 this year, respectively. Gesicki put up a season-high 64.1% route participation in his first game back from IR, matched Higgins for targets in total. He is a must-play tight end today, and I'm expecting at least 5 targets. I'm expecting at least 40 yards, and you can mark him down for an anytime touchdown, Huss. Those are my plays for both games. Obviously, you want to bet responsibly, but just because we are Canadians does not mean we can't partake in the U.S. tradition that is Thanksgiving football. And remember last week I came here and I was like, hey, we've got this great sale right now, Huss.
Yes.
We topped it. I didn't think it was Black Friday. That's right. $18 for a premium subscription that will give you access to all of our betting and DFS content. $20 if you are a stats nerd like I am and you just want the data suite, or $40 US gets you all in, gets you access to everything, including the AI tool, which helps you put together your DFS through all of the great content. Remember, fantasypoints.com puts out some of the most content in volume and in depth in the entire industry. So use our Ball Knowledge AI tool to help you get the most out of all your subscriptions. It does not write content. Okay, we feel like that's a very important part to mention here in today's AI climate. It is just there to help you maximize your money for what you are paying for. So $40 US all in, $18 for the premium. You will not beat that price. I'm telling you, it will pay for itself in no time, especially with things like the official bets, channel. Enjoy Black Friday, just like everyone does down south.
Right on, man. Enjoy the games tonight. Thanks for doing this. We'll catch up next week as the playoff picture gets a little clearer, potentially, maybe not. Have a good one and good luck tonight.
Thanks, guys. Go Chiefs, go Ravens.
You got it. At El Nostra Thomas, great at getting back to people. If you've got questions on fantasy, our pal Thomas Tipple. Listen, before we go, we got 3 minutes left in this Packer-Lion game. It's a 1-touchdown game. Detroit looking to get the ball back. The Chiefs right now over at Coolbet are 3.5-point favorites. That's moved from 3 to 3.5. And as we mentioned, the Bengals right now 7-point dogs against Baltimore. I'm going to be on the Chiefs, although I did get it at 2.5 or 3 earlier. That hook is not something I love. We could see a close game, but I'm in on the Mahomes props for today. Mahomes over 2.5 passing touchdowns at plus 153. Put a little sprinkle on over 3.5, hopefully to have a really fun day. The Rashee Rice anytime touchdown, Xavier Worthy anytime touchdown, as we talked about with Thomas. But a big, big day for Patrick Mahomes, I feel, coming up. And in the late game, the one thing we didn't talk about, and this is a weird one, Lamar Jackson rushing yards. The total for this one is 26.5. Lamar has barely ran the football in his last 2 games since coming back from injury. Now, they were playing lower teams in not as close games, but it just didn't seem like he was at that point where he was comfortable doing that. So I would say that if you're just auto betting a Lamar over when it comes to rushing yards, be careful on this one because he really hasn't shown a lot of that dynamic running that we know from Lamar since he came back from the injury. Of course, over at Coolbet, still plenty of props and whatnot. We got a Lamb and Rice. Jake for sure did that one. A Rashee Rice and a CeeDee Lamb anytime touchdown each. We got Mahomes and Lamar both to score rushing touchdowns. That one's over 15-1. And one for tomorrow with that Philly-Chicago game. Barkley and Roma Dunze both to get into the end zone. That one is cooked up to 6-1. We've got exclusives. We've got combo cards. We got a loaded slate at Coolbet. Head on over there. And if you haven't played a Coolbet before, use the promo code WST for a 100% bonus up to $200 on your first deposit. All right, Remo, what do you think? Have you been watching much of this football game while we've been doing the show?
I've been watching it a bit. I have it on down here. I got to say that halftime show, Jack White and Eminem, pretty awesome. The NFL bringing it with the Thanksgiving halftime shows. Post Malone is the next one, and Lil Jon is the evening one. So
yeah,
huge numbers expected for this Cowboys Chiefs game. But credit to the Packers. You know, they've really been all over Jared Goff, sacking him, repeatedly putting the pressure on. Jameson Williams has had some nice, but as Thomas said, they're out. You know, Laporta and St. Brown, huge blow to the offense. And Jordan Love has looked good, making throws. Their offense questionable at times. He's had a couple of deep shots, but interesting to know, overall, only like 220 yards. So very efficient day from the Packers. Yeah,
4 touchdowns for Love. 2 to Christian Watson, 2 to Dontavian Wicks, 1 to Watson. That was the long one, the 51-yarder. Yeah. And 1 to Romeo Doubs as well. It's the 2-minute warning. 3rd down for the Packers. A 1st down will ice the game. We'll let you all get to that. Tomorrow on the program, we will be getting ready for the Jets and Canes. Early start at 4 p.m. So join us at 1, break down all the NFL action today, have the latest from Carolina, hit the clean line expected lines for tomorrow's game, and get you ready for the weekend and back-to-back games in Carolina and Nashville as the Jets desperately look to end this losing streak and get back in the win column. Thanks to Thomas Tipple, John Cullen, Danny Zhilkin of the Manitoba Moose, and of course our pal Murat, and all of you for hanging out today. Enjoy the football. Any turkey if you're going to get in on it as well. Have a great night and enjoy it tomorrow. We will see you at 1 o'clock to kick off the weekend, marble race and all, before the Jets play the Canes at 4 right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Have a good one.
Oh my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.